5, 4.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Kotlin, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I know I certainly am, because I get to spend a little bit of time with, my co-host Hadi and our guest today. Hadi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Seb?
Yeah, I'm fine, all things considered.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've actually seen each other. I think it's been over a month since we recorded one of these things. Bloody summer vacation getting in the way of work. Ridiculous.
All the more reason to get some more good Kotlin content on the road, right? Should we do the is there a mandatory weather segment we need to do?
Yes, it is hot and humid outside. How is it where you are?
Honestly, exactly the same. And I've been contemplating about this, and I've been thinking back to the last time I was in Nevada, where it's a nice dry heat, and I've actually come to the conclusion that I'd rather have like 35, 38 degrees in dry rather than this like 32 degrees in like really humid, because I genuinely feel like I'm melting most days.
Yeah, you just walk outside and it's essentially you're just sweating, right? Although I have to say, I just checked because I've become a freak of thermometers and stuff. So I've got one outside in the shade, and it's showing to me 43 degrees. But I think it's because it was in the sun at some point, and 26 degrees, 26% humidity. So that's actually not bad. It's hot and dry here. You should come over if it's hot and humid where you are.
Yeah, all the more reason to finally give you a visit. I think that would be great. But anyway, today we're not here about talking. I mean, we're always here about talking about the weather.
Weather. Don't say we're not.
Yeah, let's be honest here. But today we're actually talking about Kotlin and AppCode, and for that we have a wonderful guest who is Aida Muhametsyanov from the AppCode team. Aida, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me here. I'm in AppCode team, and I'm in JetBrains since 2019, I think, so not that long time ago. And I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm developing AppCode and also developing some parts of KMM plugin for AppCode. So if you don't know what AppCode is, so AppCode is an IDE for macOS and iOS development. So it's like an analog of Xcode, but from JetBrains. The main feature of AppCode is that it's based on IntelliJ platform. So if you already got used to IntelliJ platform, to IDEA, Android Studio, or whatever else, then AppCode will be more comfortable for you than Xcode, I would say.
Yeah, for folks listening, you might not know what Android Studio is. It's an IDE for... I'm joking. Anyway, go on, continue. So essentially, it's kind of like Xcode on steroids, right? You get basically the same refactorings and code navigation and goodness that you get with the IntelliJ platform, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And can you use it on its own, or do you have to have it in combination with Xcode when you do development?
No. Unfortunately, you have to have an Xcode installed because Apple doesn't provide a toolchain. It's just bundled into Xcode. And to have the toolchain, we need an Xcode.
So to get the question out of the way, because I know everyone always asks this question, can I develop my iOS application on Windows with AppCode?
No.
You took a moment to think about that one.
Yeah.
I assume that
because it's a tricky. It's like before joining JetBrains, I was an iOS developer. So I'm on Mac since years and years ago, and I don't know already what works on Windows and what happens in that world.
Yeah, fair enough. The main point I'm asking is because especially in the Kotlin multi-platform mobile world, it seems like it's a common theme that whenever we talk about multi-platform mobile, one of the big questions that people have, and one that unfortunately we can't give a positive answer to, is can I build my Kotlin multi-platform apps completely on Windows, including the iOS part?
Seb, I'm a little bit confused. Why do you think that's not a positive answer? I mean, not being able to develop on Windows generally is okay, no?
Anyway, let's actually use this as a bit of a segue because, well, we're actually here on Talking Kotlin, right? So you want to tell a little bit about the relationship between, well, AppCode and Kotlin, and maybe also why you're on the show today?
So let's start from the Android Studio and KMM plugin for Android Studio. There is a Kotlin Multiplatform mobile plugin for Android Studio. It's good. It's awesome. It works. It does the stuff. You can run iOS applications right from Android Studio, and it has a project wizard to create KMM applications from template. But there is a problem that there is no support of Swift and Objective-C in Android Studio. So you can't really write Swift code. You need to open Xcode, write your Swift code there, and then open Android Studio and, I don't know, rebuild your framework, or like modify your framework, your API or your common framework, build it again to make the interface available in your iOS project in Xcode. So you open Xcode and you adapt the new interfaces. And we wanted to make this, to resolve this problem by building, to make it possible to work with KMM project as with one code base in one ID. And since we have already support for Swift and Objective-C in AppCode, we continued developing the solution in the AppCode. So that's how we came up with the idea to build a KMM plugin for AppCode. And the KMM plugin, it has the killer feature of KMM plugin for AppCode is a cross resolve between Kotlin and Swift. And that allows us to make refactorings simultaneously. So you could rename a property in Kotlin code, in shared Kotlin code, and then it will be renamed everywhere in Android part, in Swift, and Objective-C. And yeah, that makes awesome improvement in the workflow.
So just before we continue a second, let me try and position myself as a developer to better understand what that potential workflow is. I'm doing a Kotlin multi-platform mobile application, and I'm just a single person, right? I'm going to do both Kotlin and, target Android and Mac iOS. So now I have Android Studio installed. I can do development in Android Studio with Kotlin and create a multi-platform application. Has to be on Windows because I want to target Mac. Sorry, has to be on Mac because I want to target iOS as well, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm doing my application and I'm writing my common Kotlin code in Android Studio, and I can also write Android-specific code in Android Studio using this. Correct?
No. You need only AppCode, and you can.
No, I'm not talking about iOS though. Right
no,
now,
no. You can develop Android specific code in AppCode as well.
Okay, but let's assume that I don't have AppCode right now. Let's assume that I just have Android Studio. So I can write code that targets the Android platform in Android Studio. Correct? Up to now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now what you're saying is that what I can't do is interop with Swift code and get that better editor experience with just Android Studio and with just Xcode running in the background, right? So if I wanted to do anything that were specific around KMM and Swift interoping with Kotlin, I would have to default to Xcode, which of course doesn't really understand Kotlin, doesn't understand the interop aspects, etc. And that's where KMM comes into the picture. KMM for AppCode comes into the picture, right? Where I can.
When you say interop, what do you mean?
Well, I mean the same way that I can use Java APIs and get completion, etc.
Okay.
I get that? Yeah. So that's where AppCode now comes into the picture. That I could do the same thing when I'm targeting iOS. Is that more or less correct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, Seb, are you on the same page as a non-mobile developer?
You realize I started as a mobile developer, right?
Oh.
So.
Yeah, but we quickly changed that, didn't we? Seb?
As an ex-mobile developer, yeah, maybe we should say. Yeah, no, I'm on the same page. Okay. But I think Hadi kind of interrupted you a little bit in your story. Do you want to continue?
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's almost like it's a dialogue. Do you want to continue your point? If you still have that train of thought, otherwise I can throw in a couple extra questions.
No, you can ask questions, but maybe we can. Okay, let me finish my speech. I wouldn't say that I prepared the speech, but it's just two things which I would like to highlight about the plugin. So, additional to the cross-resolve thing, also you should consider that when you edit your common code in like common Kotlin module, the interfaces, you don't need to get new interfaces of your common module available in Swift code. You don't need to rebuild the framework how it's needed with Android Studio and KMM. It's just it becomes available like on the fly because we communicate with Kotlin frontend.
Okay, so the plugin really understood. Like with the plugin, you allow AppCode to really understand what's going on the Kotlin side of things, and that enables everything.
Yeah, it supports Kotlin and it supports cross-resolve between Swift and Kotlin and Objective-C. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds very elegant, I think. But I actually wanted to touch on one more point, because when Hadi made his inquiry, you also mentioned that you can write Android-specific Kotlin code in AppCode now. So how is that experience, and like maybe how does it differ from writing it in Android Studio, for example?
I would say the main difference is that we don't have interface designer or interface builder, how it's called in Android Studio. So we don't do any UI stuff, and we don't add. So we use, I think it's at Kotlin Android, but not the Android plugin. Or no, I may do a mistake here, but it's just we don't take the Android plugin which works in Android Studio, but we use another one. I think it's either Android Kotlin or Kotlin Android or something. I don't remember exactly. And yeah, so the experience differs, but now we are on the start point, and we'll adjust according to the request from the users and community.
But is the experience designed to be kind of like plug and play, as in like I can take the exact same multi-platform project I may have worked on beforehand and just open it in AppCode, or do I need to make some changes to make sure things work?
You do need, you do need to make some changes. The main difference in your Gradle configuration is that in Android application you declare your dependencies on top level. And in our solution, we use Kotlin multiplatform way when you add dependencies to source sets. So you have your Kotlin extension, and then you have target. You declare target, and then you declare source sets, and you add dependencies there. So you will need to update your Gradle configuration file.
Okay, but given that I have already, I've already been tinkering with Kotlin multi-platform mobile beforehand, or maybe I created my multi-platform project using the Android Studio KMM plugin, can I then just open it in AppCode, or do I still need to make changes?
Then it works, yeah.
Okay, so that's just it's a smooth experience there. And I actually have one more question just on the topic of AppCode and Android Studio combined. Is there do you envision the workflow of people still switching between those two IDEs when they switch between the different platforms? Or how do you imagine this part?
They will need still switch for building UI, for building complicated UI. Same we have in AppCode and Xcode when you need to open storyboards and whatever. In Xcode to have the like preview and this smooth and fully integrated UI experience.
I'm curious in regards to real world usages of when you're creating applications. Don't you most of the time have to use interface builder?
It depends on the project, right? Because for example, like there are complicated projects with complicated logic inside, with complicated business logic. Yeah, there are applications with rich UI but simple logic where you want to impress the user by UI. But definitely there are projects where where a developer could work on specific part without touching the UI. I believe so.
And in terms of Jetpack Compose, I assume that there's less use of a visual interface right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I haven't worked with Jetpack Compose. I haven't worked with SwiftUI as well, but I I know some stuff that you write your Swift. Let's talk about SwiftUI. You can write your SwiftUI code in just an editor. You don't need, would be nice to have a preview, but in AppCode case, you can make the preview possible in iOS simulator. So you could still build SwiftUI code, write SwiftUI code, and changes will appear in the simulator. So it is possible with SwiftUI. With Jetpack Compose, I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know.
But besides the user interface story, if I'm really focused on building like business logic rich applications or shared library integrations, these kind of things, then this whole AppCode KMM solution really makes the whole thing smoother. That's how I understand it. Assume this is still a very recent, you very recently published this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you already received some kind of feedback from developers, how they feel about it, or what they're kind of looking for in the plugin as well?
I would say people who is interested in who tried out the product, so they have enough motivation to really download it, to build something and try it out. They like the solution, and I think that core native developers, they haven't even tried because they are native developers and accept only Swift or Objective-C. But we already have some requests. We're already working on next steps to expand the functionality, to make it more prettier for iOS development.
What do you mean more prettier?
More attractive. Yeah.
Okay. In what sense? Where do you think that?
Yeah.
First of all, why, and second of all, how?
I would say currently we need more flexibility in configuration of the Gradle. So I didn't tell the main difference for iOS developers. So we talked about Android development, but for iOS developers, things are much more different currently than the native development. So think about that. With current solution, the iOS developer needs to configure all the things in Gradle file, not in Xcode project. How usually people do. So you configure your Gradle file you configure your iOS app target there, then Gradle plugin, Apple Gradle plugin generates Xcode projects when you need it, then this Xcode project is being built. And yeah, so because not everybody is ready to move from Xcode project completely, like to translate all their settings and everything into this Gradle configuration. We now working on the solution where you have the main, like the hybrid solution, where you don't have only Gradle as a source of truth, but you have an Xcode project and some part still like embedded into your Xcode project, which is generated by Gradle plugin. So this solution, I think, will be more attractive and for people who is not ready to go all in into Gradle.
So the way that when I last worked with Kotlin multi-platform mobile, the idea was that you create some kind of library based on Kotlin multi-platform, and then you import that in your iOS project, right, in your Xcode project. Which means that, well, I guess you have some configuration to integrate those two things together, but you still have your own like Xcode project that you kind of manage and maintain. Is it the same structure when we use the AppCode KMM plugin, or are there any changes in this structure as well?
Oh, well, in current solution, it's more or less the same, but first Apple Gradle plugin, like it's just Apple Gradle plugin generates Xcode project. And if you open this Xcode project, then you will see that the Kotlin multi-platform, like Kotlin framework, this shared framework is also integrated into the project. The structure of Xcode projects is more or less the same.
Well, I'm thinking this might also be a kind of a cool way to introduce iOS developers who work in a Kotlin multi-platform mobile context and get them acquainted with AppCode in the first place, actually. Because when I started doing mobile development, I was always writing I was always using Xcode for a while, until I think by chance or by recommendation stumbled across AppCode, and I was like, this is a much better editing experience. I like this much better, but I kind of wasn't aware of it at the time. So I feel like that, again, having things like, hey, you have another team that's working on these shared modules, and you're gonna get a better development experience when you use AppCode over Xcode, for example. It might also nudge people to just try the software and actually realize that it might give them a better development experience than what they're used to.
Yeah, sure. Not all the people know about AppCode, and also I got a question from Android developer. He was like, "Is AppCode also produced by JetBrains?" Or yes, why are you asking? And yeah, and not all iOS developers, of course, know about AppCode.
So I have a question, which obviously I know the answer to. No, not because obviously I know the answer to, but because I know. But for folks that don't know, if if we're looking at trying to get more people to jump on board Kotlin and Kotlin multi-platform mobile and do iOS development with it, there's a bunch of hurdles that folks have to overcome, right? In the sense that, well, now I have to get a Swift developer interested in another language to begin with. Then I have to get that Swift developer interested in another tool, right? Mm-hmm. So not only can you not kind of use Kotlin with Xcode, you would have to use a different tool. Which, let's not also forget that it is a paid tool in this case. So folks would be, it feels like, okay, well, there's a few too many obstacles in my way in order for me to take advantage of this Kotlin multi-platform mobile scenario, right? And this begs the question, because I think a lot of folks don't know, but maybe asking themselves, why did you have to do this as a separate IDE to begin with? I mean, I guess independently of Kotlin as well. And why didn't you develop it as a plugin to Xcode? Or why don't you provide Kotlin support as a plugin to Xcode?
About Xcode, it's not that simply to write any extensions there, and I think it has too limited possibilities to extend to support Kotlin. So why didn't we build separate IDE for multi-platform stuff?
No. That wasn't my question. It was why require another IDE? Why couldn't it have just been Xcode to at least remove one of the obstacles, right? I mean, okay. You and I and Seb and anyone that's used AppCode realize that it's not really an obstacle because it actually boosts your productivity, right? And it makes you more efficient and it makes you code more pleasurably, right? But for folks that are trying to adopt this, it's two things that they have to overcome, right?
Yeah,
not just the language, but also the IDE. And the answer is that it's extremely difficult and limited to actually create plugins to the level that we need for Xcode, right?
True, and also nobody guarantees that something will not, like nothing will change in like a couple of years in Xcode, and Apple may just turn it off completely and break everything for us, and all our work will be just a garbage, because Xcode changes every year, and every year we have additional work to support these changes from Xcode, from Swift, and to rely on that Xcode will stay the same regarding the extension functionality. It's absolute risk. And we could probably partner with Apple, but it's already another story.
So, and if you don't mind, Seb, I have a follow-up question, of course, to this, is how can we try and now ease this transition, and how can we make it easier for folks to overcome these obstacles, so to speak?
First solution comes to my mind. It's to produce more content, more more talkings, more documentation and explanations for targeted to iOS developers. What else could we try? Do you have any ideas?
Well, I mean, I think that Seb, being a mobile developer, a lot of responsibility should fall on him now to create content around iOS. And so,
of course,
at the end of the day, it's exactly the same. I mean, it's the same situation as Java and Kotlin in a way, right? Why did people switch over from Java to Kotlin? What were the benefits? And I think it's about, like, if you show enough benefits to people and give them the value, generally folks would then, overcome any minor obstacles, right? To start working with something.
Yeah, we gotta find ways for people to fall in love with all the technologies and all the bits and pieces.
Seb, go ahead, man. It's all up to you.
Yeah.
Didn't you want to get back into mobile?
Look, man, there's few things I don't want to get back into. I've recently perused a math textbook again from my university, and it's one of those topics like things like probability theory and statistics, and I mean, this is completely off topic, but it's literally, I look at these things and I'm like, it would be so great if I just had a little bit more time so that I could, refresh my memory on these kind of topics, because they seem very interesting and very exciting, but, gotta prioritize. All right, so to kind of round things out, I know you've kind of alluded to the fact that you want to make it a bit more pleasant in the future to develop with AppCode for Kotlin multi-platform mobile. But I'm just wondering if you have any particular upcoming plans that you can or want to share that are maybe already on the horizon.
as I said, it's this hybrid model, like hybrid project model, where you have your main Xcode project and then just a part from Gradle configuration integrated into this project. And the second thing, which is on the horizon currently, some better integration with Kakao pods. If you have Kakao pods dependencies in your shared Kotlin module, then they are like available from Swift code. Yeah, I hope I understood the functionality correctly, because another teammate is working on it.
How many people are actually working on the KMM plugin?
I mean, these 5 people constantly changing from AppCode to KMM and vice versa.
Last time I said not bad when someone said there's like 5 people. I actually said there's like 5 or 6 people on the Kotlin JS team, and which is pretty good. And people started laughing at me for some reason.
The 5 people, it's approximate number in only AppCode team, but of course there are people from Kotlin native team from Kotlin who also like helps us. They help us. And it's not only us just building the whole thing.
Makes sense that that would be a type of cooperation. Actually, is maybe one more small question. Were you actually able to kind of reuse any of the work that the folks for the KMM plugin for Android Studio have done, or is it because it's kind of the inverse? Was it essentially built from scratch?
Actually, some parts from AppCode were reused in KMM plugin for Android Studio, and yeah, we use these parts as well. So yeah, there is some reused code. We reused Kotlin frontend to generate stubs, to generate the available API from Kotlin to translate it into Objective-C and Swift symbols. So we didn't write our own parser or compiler or whatever. We adjusted the Kotlin frontend.
I think that's mostly all we have time for today. Do you want to let's have a call to action here, right, for people? When people wanna check out the Kotlin multi-platform mobile plugin for AppCode, where do they go? How do they find it? How do they go about this?
So there is a blog post in our engineering blog, or in our blog at JetBrains. So I think the links will be attached to this video, right?
Yep.
There is a post, there is documentation there. Also, if you have any feature requests, don't hesitate to go into UTrack. The link will be also under the video. Yeah, there is a, I think, Slack channel with Kotlin people there. So yeah, it's basically to get the information, go to the blog post and plug in documentation. To request features, go to UTrack.
Are there any parts of the KMM plugin that you would like for people to especially try out, or give especially detailed feedback on, maybe because you're still designing it, or because it's you're still kind of working out the details?
I think the Gradle, we need to understand what is the most needed feature for the Gradle extension, where you write AppCode and where you configure your target in Gradle file, because there is so many things you can create, so many features, and it's not clear which is the most desirable one where you should focus.
All right. So if you have strong opinions, like many programmers do make sure to let the team know so that we can come up with a good solution here. All right, Ida, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was really nice talking to you. I've certainly learned something new. I'll also have to install the plugin myself and give it a try in the near future. Sounds like a weekend project. Yeah, we're recording this on a Thursday, so the weekends is not so far away. Maybe
you got statistics coming up this weekend, Seb. Probability and statistics. Do it next weekend.
All right. Well, I guess my old university textbooks are calling me.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. It was also a pleasure to talk with you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All
Thanks
right.
for coming on the show. And for all the folks out there, we'll be back at some point in time. Well,
soon.
In how frequently do these go out, Seb? I've forgotten. Every 2 weeks, no?
I think something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see you in 2 weeks in an episode that you don't know what it's going to be about. And the best part is, nor do we. And in the meantime, don't forget to
like and subscribe, and most importantly,
hit that bell.
That's right. You should get your bell repaired.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah, we need to get a bell repairman.
See you, folks.
Anyway, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.